Oh, hello there. This hour on VerbLink, the next in my Hot Topics series. This is the class where we look at important topics in the news and media, and we discuss these things from our own cultural perspective. Bring your perspective on important things happening in the news, and let's decide what we think about them. And at the same time, learn some important English, how to discuss news, how to give opinions. Also, we'll be learning the vocabulary that comes up directly in the article. It's a win win. Today we'll be talking about, I'm going to give you a link in just a second. Today we'll be talking about the most vulnerable cities, a great article in the Guardian newspaper. But before we do, quick introduction. I'm John Eric, your VerbLink teacher for this hour. I'm an American teacher from New York, coming at you today from Lisbon, Portugal, to bring you this class. By the way, if you click on my name anywhere in the VerbLink website, it takes you here to my profile page. On the right, you can click, what can you do? Click Book Now or Trial. You can book a private tutoring session or buy a package. I'll work with you on creating a personalized learning program to help get you to your goals. On the left side, you can follow me, which allows you to communicate with me directly in the VerbLink message window, also to get notifications of my upcoming classes. So there you go. If you're interested in a private tutoring class or package, just send me a message so I can be sure that there's time for you in my schedule. And here is the material for today. Take a look, and I'll give you a link as well in both chat windows if you want to download this, open it up, and read along in case it's a little bit hard to see. And there you go. So let's see who's out there today. We'll probably have some more people coming in, so we'll give them a few minutes, but let's say hello first to Ksenia. Hello, Ksenia. Welcome back.
Hello, thank you.
And who else is there? Mr. Ahmed, how are you?
I'm fine, how are you?
Very good. Ahmed from Saudi Arabia, right?
Right.
Okay, very good. Okay, your connection is a little bit unstable. I'm hearing lots of static on your line, Ahmed.
Okay, let me see.
If you have a cable, try to use a cable instead of Wi-Fi.
Uh-huh.
It's much better if
Okay.
you can do that, all right?
Okay.
All right. So, before we begin the main part, I'm going to ask you to, I want you to tell me, let's do a little bit of brainstorming. I want you to tell me what you think some of the biggest dangers facing the world's cities today might be. I've got a few suggestions of my own. Maybe you can even look at the picture and get a few ideas. What are some of the dangers you think we're facing these days? Think about where you are, too.
Maybe flood?
Floods. What is a flood?
A lot of water on the streets?
A lot of water on the streets and in the houses
Yes.
and everywhere. So this picture seems to show a flood, doesn't it?
Yes, I think so.
Looks like it. Yeah, looks like it. Why do floods happen?
Because of raining?
Too much rain?
Yes. Also bad drainage system?
Bad drainage system, bad sewers. Yeah, could be.
Yes.
And what about Katrina? Remember in 2005? The hurricane that kind of changed everything. The one that got everyone thinking about global warming and climate change.
In New Orleans, you mean?
Exactly.
Yes.
That was a flood, but it wasn't because of the rain. Do you remember what happened?
Yes, it was Hurricane Katrina.
That's right. But it wasn't the rain that caused the flooding. Do you know what happened?
It's about damp, or how to say it, I think, in the water that keep water in some level, but
Mhm.
when it broke, it breaks, it will happen a lot of
broke.
problem. Yes.
When it breaks. Sorry, when it breaks.
Yes.
That's right. So this is called a levee. A levee. The levees broke because we don't really know why they broke, but they broke. They didn't prevent the surge from the storm. They didn't prevent it from going over the barriers. The levees are there to block. It's like a dam, yeah. But they're there to block the water so that it doesn't reach the city, because the city was below sea level. So, a couple of good vocabulary words. You've got surge, first of all. Let me see if I can put all of these in the window for you. Give me just a second here. Let's see if I can. One moment. One moment. There we go. I'm going to see if I can give you some examples for these words. So you've got surge, and you've got a little example afterwards. Whoops. Oh, what's happening?
Excuse me, can I try the microphone? Is it now working? I've got the cable.
It sounds exactly the same.
Oh, I think it's from the mic.
Maybe it's the microphone. You sound like you're breaking up a little bit. Okay. Take a quick look, Ksenia, because we talked about floods. Take a look at that sentence I gave you in the chat window. Can you read that for me? The one about surge.
Surge, an unexpected surge in electrical power caused the computer to crash.
Right. So what happened to the computer?
They crashed.
Yeah, but why?
Because it was, how to say, so it was a medium level of electricity, and suddenly it was, how to say, it raised.
It rose.
It rose. Oh my God! It rose in a big amount, and that's why computer crashed.
That's why, right? So a surge is when water, electricity, or something rises up faster and with more what's the word? More volume or more force or more whatever than the thing can handle. So the computer can only handle so much electricity. Okay, so that's an example of surge just because it came up with levees. Let's say a quick hello to... Wait, I've got two Ahmeds now. I've got Ahmed and Ahmed. Wait a second. How many Ahmeds and Ahmeds do I have? Mr. Sokri, how do I say your name?
Yeah, hello, how are you?
Okay, good. Is it Ahmed or Ahmed?
Anything, you can call me Ahmed.
Ahmed. Okay. So we've got an Ahmed and an Ahmed. Where are you from? Ahmed,
I'm from Egypt.
From Egypt. Okay. So we've got Ahmed from Egypt and Ahmed from Saudi Arabia. Okay, got it. Okay, so we talked a little bit about what some dangers could be. Okay, well actually let me hear, just quickly, let me hear from both of you, from our Ahmeds and Ahmeds. Think about the city that you live in or closest to. What are some dangers that you think we're facing in the future where you live? Ahmed, where do you live? Do you live in Riyadh? Uh-oh, I don't hear Ahmed.
Yeah, I live
there you are, yes.
in Riyadh, yes.
What are some dangers that you think Riyadh is facing?
It's facing flooding if it's rain, if it's in future maybe it gets rain too much, like 4 hours. It will get flooded.
Okay, it will be flooded. It will be flooded.
Okay.
Okay. And what about water? Is water a problem? Saudi Arabia is a big desert. Is water a problem?
Yeah, the water is really a problem in Saudi Arabia. We bring the water from both sides, from the Red Sea
Mm-hmm.
and from the, what do you call, the Persian Gulf, or the Gulf, which is in Saudi Arabia, in the east of Saudi Arabia.
Mm-hmm. Persian Gulf, yeah.
Yeah.
And so you have to desalinate the water.
Yeah,
Right.
they salinate it, and it's to be able to drink it later and to use it.
And is that? Oh, actually, I should say there's something else too, which is like, what about the climate itself? It's pretty hot there.
Yeah, it reached about 50 degree.
But last summer,
In summer, yeah.
last summer, there were some places in the East and Middle East that were extremely hot, like the hottest on record.
Oh, like
in 2015.
Yeah, there were some people that die from that degree of the hot.
Of the heat. Exactly. So these things are expected to get worse. That's what we're talking about today. That's the article we're going to read about. I've got a few other ideas for you here. We've got traffic pollution, war, disease, drought. Ahmed from Egypt, do you know what drought is?
Drought.
Do you know the word?
I don't know how to describe it. I think when the earth evaporated from water, it becomes droughted.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. And whoops. And look at this. Look at this sentence that I just wrote. I wrote an example for you in the chat window. Can you see the note I just put?
Yeah.
Read that for us, please.
A severe drought ruined the crops.
Ruined the crops. Okay.
Ruined the crops. Okay.
So why did the crops die? Because
of drought.
Because why? What did they have?
Drought. They don't have water.
They don't have water, right. Just to be clear, crops could be wheat, corn, barley, whatever you're growing. Okay. Another word there is in the middle, overpopulation, climate change, famine, and crime. I want you to tell me, which of these do you think is the most dangerous out of all of these on the screen? Which is the most dangerous? Jose, what's your opinion?
My opinion is the more dangerous could be the overpopulation and climate change. Because some seasons now are different.
Different? How?
Yes, different? Because sometimes in winter the temperature is warm.
Right.
And on summer sometimes is not so hot as before.
So
I think the climate is changing.
So when you say different,
yes,
what you mean is because different doesn't mean anything to us. If you say different, that's not good or bad. But what you mean is that the weather is maybe like, I don't know, less predictable than before?
Yes, it's less predictable than before.
Yeah.
Here in Valencia, for example, don't rain it doesn't rain with the same frequency than before.
Right. So basically, the Sahara Desert is moving up into Europe. It's going to be a big desert in Spain if things don't change. Okay. Well, I wanted to get your ideas about that before we read, because you're going to see some facts and statistics in this article that, well, you can agree or disagree with, but the point is, I want you to to be able to talk about this with fluency, and I want us to decide what, if anything, we can do about it. That's one of the points of the article. Knowing is important, but what we can actually do about it is also important, discussing what that could be. By the way, which of these things do you think is the least dangerous? Ksenia, what do you think? Out of that list, which one do you think is the least we need to worry about?
Overpopulation.
They're all bad. Overpopulation. Okay. Why is that?
Because it doesn't hurt anyone. So we should maybe live in not so, oh my god, how to say, big flat. Maybe it will be a double less as we used to live, but it doesn't hurt anyone actually.
That part about the flat, I didn't quite catch that.
Oh my god, it's just an example. So our population, it when a lot of people, yes, somewhere in the city, something, too much people.
Yeah. In fact, perhaps more people than can be provided for.
I think we eat a lot of food, so we can share half of it, so it's not a problem.
Okay. All right. The problem is, how do you get the food from where you are to places like Mauritania? I mean, that's the problem. How do we, because it's not feasible to ship it, right? Especially if climate change is affecting the crop growth in other areas. So there might be a lot of great growth in the north, but then how do you get it to the south? You know, and it's so I don't know. I don't know about sharing. I hope that people do. I hope so. By the way, Mr. Ahmed from Saudi Arabia, do you know what famine is? The second to last.
It's the hunger. Like,
hunger, right? So famine is mass hunger, actually.
Yeah.
And let me see if I can give you. I don't really have a good example of this. No, I just have a definition. I don't have a good example sentence.
Is a synonym, another synonym for it?
Sorry, say again, please. I didn't catch that.
Another synonym for it?
Besides hunger?
Yeah. We can say starvation.
Starvation. Starvation, right. Yeah, basically that's it. Starvation means that you're going to die of hunger. Famine means that you go hungry, actually. So there's a little difference, but yeah, basically they're synonyms, more or less. Okay. What you're going to see in this article are some vocabulary words that I want to show you first, so that when you see them in context, they'll be easier to understand. When I do this, I first go over the pronunciation, so I just want you to repeat what I say, just to get the pronunciation clear. Then I'll ask if you know some of the more difficult words. Some of these you'll know, some you won't. Okay? So let's go through this list. I'll say the first word twice, you repeat it once, and I'll be able to hear all of you. You can speak at the same time. First is wildfire. Wildfire. Can you repeat?
Wildfire.
Only one person repeated?
Wildfire.
Wildfire.
Missing one.
Wildfire.
Okay. You can all speak at the same time. I'll be able to hear if there's a problem. Okay, the next one you know. It's easy. Going down. Abandon. But listen to my accent here, because I'm not saying abandon. It's din. Abandon. Now you.
Abandon.
Good.
Abandon.
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 Okay, very good. The next word you might not know. It's porous. Porous. Now you.
Porous.
Porous.
Porridge.
Porous.
Jose, one more time. Porous.
Porridge.
Yeah, but the last S is a S, not a sh. Porous.
Porridge.
That's it. Good, good. Okay, the next word is easy. You probably know it. disintegrate. Actually, you could say it with like a Z. You could say, I say disintegrate with an S, but you could also say disintegrate, and it's not wrong to say it that way. But anyway, in my accent, disintegrate. Now you?
Disintegrate.
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 Okay. The next one on the top is low-lying. Low-lying. Now you?
Low-lying.
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 Okay, good. You can all speak at the same time. You don't have to go one at a time. It's going to take a lot longer that way, and I can hear if there's a problem. So I'll stop you if I hear a problem. Underneath that, the word is uninhabitable. Uninhabitable. Now you.
Uninhabitable.
Uninhabitable.
Okay, sounds good with everyone. Next one on the top, vulnerable. Vulnerable. Now you.
Vulnerable.
Vulnerable.
Okay, good. Okay. Below that, sewage. Sewage. Now you.
Sewage.
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 Sewage. Sewage.
Next word on top, inundated. Inundated. Now you.
Inundated.
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 Good. And the last one, you know, it's compact. Compact. Now you.
Compact.
Compact.
Okay. Porous. Any ideas about that one? Porous.
Yes, with little holes.
With little holes, exactly. So you could, I'll give you an example just for your records. In the chat window, you'll see, oops. Ksenia, can you read that little example I just wrote?
Porous. Porous soil with good drainage.
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 Right. So if the soil has lots of holes in it, the water can go down. It's got good drainage. Okay, so that might help prevent a flood, actually, if the soil is good. That one's difficult. What about inundated? Is that one clear? Maybe not.
I think it's a synonym for flooding.
It is a synonym for flooding. Good. Inundate. Let me see if I can give you a good example as well. Yeah. Okay. So for a flood, you have this example. Can you read that for me, Ahmed? From Egypt.
Okay. If the dam breaks, it will inundate large parts of the town.
Mm-hmm. Say it like this. Inundate.
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 You're missing one of the ends, though. Inundate. None.
Inundate.
That's it. Very good. In other words, it will flood parts of the town. Okay? Let's see. What's the difference between a wildfire and a regular fire? Any ideas?
Wildfire is uncontrolled fire in the forest or something like that.
That's right. It's uncontrolled and
Yes. Wildfire is a destructive fire, no, Jan?
it's destructive because it's probably hard to control or out of control, and also it's probably natural. It could happen from lightning or something like that, and wildfires are part of the natural cycle of a forest, for example, or a brush country. And part of the reason why we have these terrible fires, like now in Indonesia, and often in California, is because we humans are interrupting the natural cycle. So all of this extra brush and stuff builds up because we're preventing the fires. So then when you get a natural fire, or even if someone sets a fire, there's so much more material to burn than there should be. So it's kind of interesting. Anyway, I just wanted to point out that wildfires are often natural, and they're just part of the cycle of an environment. Okay? And you can see that example. Jose, could you read that little example sentence I wrote? What do you think, Jose?
Yes. What I have to read, John?
Could you?
Yes. What sentence?
The one in the chat window?
If things blank, they are destroyed by being broken into
Verbal
Whoa.
chat.
The
small
Verbling chat. The
pieces.
Verbling chat.
Verbling chat. Word. Mature wildfires have destroyed thousands of acres in Idaho.
Mhm.
Idaho.
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 Good. And acres. You know what an acre is, everyone? An acre of land.
It's a unit of measure.
Acre, yeah. It's like we don't use the metric system in the States and in the UK. So an acre is a plot of land, a measurement of land. Don't ask me how big. I don't know. Big. I don't know how big, but pretty big. Okay. Are there any other words that you don't know in that list before we move on? Any other new vocabulary? Anything we want to identify or clarify? Going once?
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I have a problem in a chat window. I don't know if you can see my writing. I can see your writing.
Yeah, because you've got the wrong chat window open. You've got the Verbling. You've got the group chat. You need to click on the blue box with the V for Verbling on the left side.
Okay.
And then you'll see all my notes. Okay. Did you try? If it doesn't work, then it's because your Hangout didn't load properly, or because you're using an Apple computer. If you're using an Apple computer in the Safari browser, it probably won't work. Okay, but anyway, it's the Verbling app that you have to open. For some of the... Okay, so let's do this. I want to jump forward and go right to the actual article. It's very short. And let's compare our answers to what the article is about. And then we're going to have a little discussion. I'm also going to be asking you, when you hear someone read, I'm going to ask a person who hasn't read if they can answer a kind of a comprehension question. Okay, and then the person who read can say whether the person is right or wrong. So we can have a little mini discussion as we read, but then we're going to have a big discussion afterwards and talk about what we think, what we can do about these things. So let's start with Ms. Ksenia for 1 and 2, please.
Apart from volcanoes, hurricanes, and earthquakes, there are two key things that can make a city disintegrate or even totally disappear: water and sand. A century ago, Venice, one of the most beautiful and low-lying cities in the world, used to flood around 10 times a year. Nowadays, its lowest point is at San Marco, only 3 feet above sea level, is inundated with water approximately 100 times a year.
Inundated.
Inundated.
Okay, very good. Have you been to Venice, Ksenia?
Yes.
Have you been in St. Mark's Square?
Yes, the central square in the middle of the Venice.
That's right in the center. Were you there when it was underwater, or were you there in the summer?
No, I was in the summer.
In the winter, the water from the Grand Canal and also the ocean, it's kind of the mouth of the canal, you know, because the square is underwater, you can't tell where the canal begins and where the square ends. There's a little rope, but it's kind of hard to see. I don't understand how tourists don't fall into the ocean. Because if you take one step, everyone's taking pictures, if you take one step too far, you've like fallen into the canal because you just can't tell where it ends. And they have these little sirens that go off to tell you when there's a flood coming. So, everyone, if you haven't been there, go there soon because it might not be around too much longer. It keeps getting flooded more and more. Let's see. Mr. Jose, just a quick question for you. Why do you think sand is one of those things that can make a city disintegrate? What do you think they mean by that? Kind of a comprehension question here. What do you think they say water and sand too?
Water and sun.
Yeah.
Water and sun.
Water, I understand, but why sand? What do you think?
Water I understand because sometimes the water flood the sun, no?
The water floods the city, yeah.
Flood the sun. Then it's impossible
Well, the water doesn't flood.
to live over the sun because it's float.
The water doesn't flood the sand. The water will flood a city. But
Yeah.
But there's a particular word that'd be useful here. Look at this definition that I just gave you in the chat window. Tell me if you know the word that I'm thinking of. Take a quick look.
The process of being destroyed by the action of wind, rain. Yes.
Do you know what word I'm thinking of? This is what happens to the sand.
Disaster?
No,
Natural disaster?
no, it's more specific than that. Does anyone want to take a guess? What word do you think I'm thinking of, class?
Tornado? Tornado?
Hurricane.
Tornado? Hurricane? Hurricane?
No.
It's something ending on. I forgot. It's in the field actually, so we should grow trees.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I don't-
Yeah. That's it. That's it.
Irritation. No, I forgot this. How to say? I don't know.
What about you, Ahmed? What's your guess?
I'm not sure, but I'm trying to figure out a problem, solution for my chat problem.
Forget about the chat window. It's just
Okay.
the next time you come in, just see if it loads, and if it doesn't load, then
Maybe
Okay.
erosion.
erosion is the right answer. Correct.
Erosion. Yes. Erosion.
I think that's why that sand is there, because when it floods, right, it takes the sand away from the area, so you lose the beaches, and you might also lose that kind of foundation that's underneath the surface too. If it's pulling the sand away, you might have things collapsing inland because the foundation is being pulled out or something like that. So that might be another thing. Anyway, erosion is the word I'm thinking of. Okay, Mr. Jose, can you take number 3 for us?
Okay. But rising sea levels are not the only cause. In many parts of the world, the land is also sinking. In Venice, subsoil compactation, a result of industrial exploitation of the surrounding area, lowered the city by 20 centimeters between 1950 and 1970. Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam is also sinking by about 2 centimeters a year, but does nothing compare to Jakarta, which is dropping 10 to 20 centimeters each year. In the past 3 decades, in the past 3 decades, the city has sunk roughly 4 meters.
Okay, very good, very good. If you give me just a second here, I want to put the IPA for decade just so you can see what it looks like.
Decades.
One second. Oh, sorry, gives me a second. There we go. Take a look in the chat window. You can see
Decade.
That's it. Perfect. Very good. Okay. So, Mr. Ahmed from Egypt, what does Venice and Jakarta, what do Venice and Jakarta have in common?
The two cities are sinking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because of climate change?
Not only not only for flooding, but the city itself is dropping down.
Not even because of flooding, because of man-made problems, because of overconstruction, because
Yeah.
of this thing that they called subsoil compaction. So they've all this industry, and it's like pushing down on the ground, compacting it, which means that the buildings are shifting, everything is sinking down. So it has to do with too much industry or the wrong kinds of construction in it. So it's quite man-made, actually. Okay, can you continue with 4 and 5, Mr. Ahmed from Egypt?
Unfortunately, for the Indonesian capital, it has pumped out so much groundwater to support its population that the land above is drying out and compacting. This has created a pool rivers that used to flow through the city down to the sea have had to be diverted because they cannot drain uphill. While there are many plans to save Venus and Ho Chi Minh City and Jakarta are taking the problem seriously, the same cannot be said for Miami, where politicians refuse to admit the city has a serious environmental problem.
Uh-oh, Miami. Uh-oh. Well, very good. I just want you to repeat one vocabulary word for pronunciation. Can you see the IPA symbols I just wrote in the chat window, Ahmed?
Yeah, Paul,
Bowl.
Paul, okay.
Right. So O. And the L is very, very light. Bowl. You basically don't make any contact in your mouth. Just keep it open. Bowl. Bowl. Okay. What is the bowl? What was the bowl that they talked about? What does that mean? It has created a bowl. What created the bowl?
What created the bowl?
Pumping the water into the city.
Pumping the water, yeah, out of the ground for people to drink. So that means that everything kind of sunk down like a bowl, like the bowl you put your cereal in, right? It's just everything sunk down because there's no water down there. The soil has gone dry and therefore compacted. There's no resistance to the weight of the urban construction that's above it. So think about that. And let's find out a little bit about Miami. Okay, Mr. Ahmed from Saudi Arabia, let's try 6. Let's see if we can hear you okay.
Okay, there are 3 problems in Miami. It's less than 10 feet above sea level. An increasing number of tropical storms are inundating the city, and it's built on porous rock which absorbing the rising seawaters. This water then fills the city's foundations and comes up through drains and pipes, forcing sewage upwards and polluting its fresh water. It's possible that Miami it may one day become uninhabitable.
There you go. So, what's polluting the water? What's polluting the drinking water? Is that clear?
The rocks and
the rocks and sorry.
Let me check it again.
It's this part where it says forcing sewage upwards and polluting its fresh water.
Oh.
So think about that for a second. Sewage is when you flush your toilet. It has to go somewhere. Well, wherever it goes, it's being forced back up and into the drinking water. Anyone here planning to go to Miami anytime soon?
No.
Oh, okay.
Hope I.
This is something you're not going to read in the tourist brochure, I assure you. Okay. Let's see. I have a couple of more here. So let's go back to Ksenia. Can you take 7 and 8 for us, please?
In the Maldives, the population.
Maldives.
In the Maldives, the populations of whole islands are now considering abandoning their homes. The capital, Malé, population 153,379, and only about feet above sea level, has built a 10-foot sea wall at a cost of $63 million. But long-term, only stabilization of rising sea levels will save it and the rest of the islands. In Africa, desertification is causing the Sahara to spread south at a rate of 30 miles per year, threatening settlements in northern Mauritania. Over the past 20 years, for example, the desert has grown by more than 260 acres around the trading and religious center of Djibouti, where the population has declined from 20,000 people in the mid-20th century to just a few thousand now. Trading has almost completely stopped as sand piles up in the streets.
Okay, very good. As what piles up in the streets? As sand. Okay, got it. As sand piles up in the streets. Wow. And what do you think desertification is? What do you think that is, Ksenia?
A lot of sand?
Yeah, new sand, basically. It sounds like new sand being created, or possibly old sand that's being pushed farther south. I guess that could be. But anyway, the climate is changing, causing the desert to get larger and the green areas to get smaller, to shrink. Interesting, huh? Mr. Jose, can you take number 9 and
Okay.
see? Yeah.
Likewise, the Californian resort of Rancho Mirage near Palm Springs may have to be abandoned in the next decade. This city is just one example of a problem caused not so much by global warming as human overexpansion. California's dream of farming the desert made sense while its total population remained around 500,000 in 1870, but now the state is home to 38 million people who own 32 million vehicles. Vehicles. Okay.
38 million people and 32 million cars.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
A lot of cars.
And the entire state of California, at least Southern California, has dropped several centimeters in the last year because of the drought. Just dropped because there was never any groundwater there to begin with. It's just too dry. They get their water from Nevada. They have to pipe the water in from another state. In other words, it's a place where people aren't supposed to live, but they do. 38,000. That's 3 times the population of the country where I currently live. Think about that. Let's say hello to Mr. David, who's joining us now. Hello, David. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine, thank you. How are you doing?
We're talking today about things that may affect the cities where we're living, what kinds of dangers we might have to face, and ultimately we're going to decide what we can do about it. I hope we can come to some decision. Why don't you take number 10 for us, and let's read about this place in California.
Okay. I want to see if I can make it a little bigger here. All right, number 10. The daily water use in Rancho Mirage is more than 200 gallons per person, which is causing a man-made drought. A 25% cut in water use has been implemented, but this is unlikely to stabilize the resort, which is surrounded by sand and dust. The long-term answer in California's desert is likely to be the abandonment of some cities.
That sounds like a good idea. Just abandon the cities. Good thing we build all those houses and buildings, right? I want you just to repeat a few words for me, like causing. Say that again for me. Which is causing?
Causing.
Yeah, I need to hear the Z in causing.
Causing.
That's it. Good. And also the name, it's not Mirage, but it's Mirage. Rancho Mirage.
Right. Mirage. That's a tricky one.
Yeah, because we use like a kind of French pronunciation for that particular word. A mirage is something you see when you're...
You are desperate in the desert.
Exactly, right. So mirage. And I think that was it. Yeah, it's just those two. Okay, so finishing up, and then we'll turn this over to discussion. Let's go to, who did I miss? I lost my place. Ahmed, I think it's back to you for 11. If I can hear you, then 11 and 12, but let's try 11 first.
Which Ahmed?
There's only one now.
What is the second? Fire is growing threat to urban settlement in America. In fact, forest fires cause the most damage after surf storms, with 800 major fire disasters there between 1953 and 2015. A new report by the USDA Forest Service maps the increasing number of urban locations that are particularly vulnerable,
right.
Vulnerable to wildfire.
Okay. Give me just a second here. Sorry, I have to... Oh, I gotta open something on my computer and I can't find... Oh, I can't find my copy of this on my computer. Oh no. Oh no. I lost it. I wanted to share something with you, but I have it in a PDF and I can't find the PDF suddenly. It's probably staring at me. Okay, never mind. Okay, forget it. I'll try to just remember and tell you afterwards. Let's see. So I think we're back to Ksenia for 12 and Mr. Jose for 13, and then we're going to turn this over to discussion.
Similarly, in Australia, some of Victoria's resorts and several Melbourne suburbs have been placed on a list of the state's 52 most vulnerable bushfire spots because long-term droughts are making trees highly combustible. It's unlikely that a forest fire will ever destroy an entire city, but a succession of fires could make it uninhabitable.
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 Uninhabitable. With a stress on the un. Uninhabitable.
Uninhabitable.
That's good. Okay, and Jose, the last one for us.
Okay, many cities are fighting a losing battle against nature, but is it possible to identify the world's most vulnerable city? No. But is it possible to identify the world's most vulnerable city? Natural events are very difficult to predict, but May's future looks particularly bad because even if its new sea wall continues to be effective, the islands around the Maldives capital are going to disappear before too long. And if they disappear, males reason, the tree disappears too.
Mm-hmm. You didn't say islands, did you, Mr. Jose?
Islands, did you?
You didn't say islands, right? You
Yes,
said islands,
islands.
not islands. There's no S. Islands.
Islands. Okay.
Malay's raison d'être. What do you think they mean by that, class? This is a French term. Does anyone know what that means? Raison d'être. Does anyone know that expression?
When again?
The French expression in the last sentence. Do you know what that means?
Malheur, raison d'être.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Literally, raison is not raisin. It's reason in
uh-huh.
English. Reason for what?
Reason for the drought.
No,
Total.
no. Être is the verb to be. Reason to be.
Ah,
Reason to be. So here's an example. Mr. David, can you read that little sentence I just wrote in the chat window?
okay, let's see. Okay. Let me go to my
Can you see it?
notes. Her job is her
Raison.
raison
Raison.
d'être.
Right.
D'être.
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 So here's the question. Does she have a life, David, does she have a life outside of her job?
She doesn't.
She doesn't. So if you say something is your raison d'être, it means that that's it. It's your purpose, your exclusive purpose. So in other words, Mr. Ahmed, what's going to happen to the people in Malay? What's going to happen to them eventually?
I think they will leave.
They'll leave. They'll have no reason to be there. In fact, they won't be Malaysians. They're not Malaysians, but they won't be inhabitants of Malay anymore. They won't be able to be there. Okay, so I want to jump forward here. These are exercises you can do on your own, but I want to get right to the discussion. Tell me what you think, class. Sentence number 1. It would be better to abandon cities like Malay rather than spend millions trying to save them. Let's start with that. Yes or no?
I would say yes.
Because?
Because it would be probably not cheaper than rebuilding or trying to rebuild the city had been damaged.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess in the new city, in the new place that they are moving to,
Mm-hmm.
they will be more cautious. I hope they have learned the lesson, and they will be more cautious, and they will use better technology to prevent what had just happened in the previous city. And not only because of that reason, but also the other things. They will be able to create a better city with better things, like for example roads, maybe more underground, massive transportation. I don't know, man. There's so many things that you can do now with the knowledge that we have now
Mm-hmm.
to create a better city. I mean, that's the only reason I'm thinking that it would be better to leave the old city, the damaged city, and go and try to build a new one.
Build a new one or relocate the people to another place?
Well, you have to build a new one if you want to relocate the people. You have to.
No,
It's a
you
new
could
city.
you could move them to Jakarta or something. You could just move them to another city.
But it's a city. You have to rebuild a city. I mean,
I know.
it's a rebuilding a city. When you move people, a group of people, you have to rebuild everything. You have to build schools, roads,
Well,
all the stuff.
how many Syrians are trying to get into Hungary and Germany today? We're not rebuilding anything.
But that's a political situation. That's not it's because that's not possible. It's a political situation.
But isn't this a political situation too?
It is and it is not. I think this is more like we have had very bad leaders, or maybe we didn't have the knowledge to perceive what we were doing. We were damaging the area, like we're doing right now with the world. We are damaging the world. Probably.
Right.
So that's the same thing. It's just the reason it's a micro thing going on there. What we're doing with the world is a macro thing.
Absolutely. Macro, yeah. Well, I'm just curious, do any of you think it would be better just to save the city, just to invest, like that seawall project that cost $63 million? They built a seawall. Do you think it's worth investing like that and just keeping what we have in the case of Mali or other cities?
Billion?
Yes, I think so. Billion, right, with a B.
Wow. Oh, that's a huge number.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's true, but how much would it cost to build a new city or relocate all these people in a way that's ensures their what's the word I'm looking for? The sanitary conditions. Because I'm thinking like if they end up being kind of like relocated into a place where there's no space for them, they may end up living in deplorable, dilapidated conditions. Good words, by the way. Deplorable.
It might be better to invest money in this city that build another one, starting from zero.
That's the debate. There's no real right answer. We have to kind of decide. What do you think?
I think they have studied the situation and estimated the numbers of how much that city will cost, and they find maybe that if they build that wall, if they cost it about 63 billion, I think it's cheaper than build another city in the next decades. I think they will not take that decision without a study.
Yeah, for sure. They'll study it, but it's still a debate we need to come up with a solution for, because there's not really a right answer.
Well, from my point of view, even if you fix this situation, it's an old city, and this is one of the many problems they might have. So I'm sure that it will become another problem soon, because it's a damaged city. It's like anything damaged in our world. So they will have to maybe in 15 or 50 years they will come up with another big issue, another maybe I don't know how many millions will be by that time because of the devaluation of the dollar. So it's a constant quick fix, I guess. So I think it's better to start from scratch and say, okay, listen, we damaged the area. It's like when the farmers, they over farm some lands, and they cannot use it anymore. They have to let it rest for at least 10 or 15 years because they're using so much of the energy from them.
Yeah. You mean that they've depleted the soil?
Depleted, exactly, the soil, and then it's a desert now. Nothing they can do. Or maybe some chemicals from the river that the companies were doing that. They were throwing in chemicals into the river, and then they damaged the area, become barren, the area. So I think it's going to happen the same thing. I mean, big cities. I mean, this city, I think if they have the money, well, let's think forward and try to create something. We learn from the lesson. We destroy this area. Let's try not to do that in the future, which is going to be hard because we are not very smart.
I think in that. Can I say something? I think in that case we should abandon planet Earth and start from the scratch on Mars planet or something like that.
Well, you're being dramatic.
Yes, I like to be dramatic.
I think it's a good idea, but we need oxygen.
Right. Well, we are doing that. We are doing that. I mean, even though she's being a little dramatic, we are doing it. We're trying to find another place to live, and unfortunately, I think only the rich people will go there. Not everybody. Not me. I don't have the money to go there.
You wouldn't want to be there even if you could go. It's not a nice place.
We never know. We never know.
There's no magnetic field, so you can't block the radiation from the sun that is lethal to us like you can here. So there's really no viable option except for maybe, you know, a small group of people that are really well protected, and it's unless they completely, even if they alter the atmosphere. Elon Musk wants to set off nuclear weapons at the poles and create a greenhouse effect. Even if that were possible, which I doubt, because you'd have to set off a lot of nuclear weapons, but even if it were possible, there's nothing blocking the radiation. It'll just go right through. You know, there's nothing natural stopping it, because it doesn't have the same kind of core. We have this iron core that creates some kind of special force field around the planet that we didn't even know about, you know, decades ago.
Having said that, I mean, there's a group of people going to Mars. Do you know about this, right? They have already been chosen.
They're not going. They're not going.
Well,
it's just a publicity stunt. They're not going.
We'll see.
No, they're not going. Even the lead scientist came out in the media and said it was just a publicity stunt. It's true they haven't announced it as a publicity stunt, but one of the lead guys, who was literally a rocket scientist, said, "Hey, I got to go to Mars and all I had was a 5-minute Skype interview." That was his training. So it's not real, unfortunately. And there was something else about, you know, the more money you could make in the media, the more likely you were to get chosen for the final mission. Doesn't seem like it's going to happen. Anyway, I don't think we'd want to be there. I have to stop here because I'm actually 2 minutes over and I've got to get the next class started. So here's the deal. I've given you lots and lots of exercises that you can do on your own. I suggest you download this, try out the vocabulary exercises, send questions, comments, and doubts to me through the message window. Okay, and I'll try, if you want, I'll give you the answer key. You have to just remind me and I'll add it to the presentation. But I got to start the next class, so come back in just a minute for Grammar Garage. We're going to do part 2 of my Tuesday class talking about the past, how to tell a story. We're going to take an in-depth look at the past perfect and how you can use it to tell a story, and we'll be telling stories of our own. All that and more coming up in just a minute. Bye for now, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.